You've got 7 minutes on your oxygen.
We are not alone after all, are we?
No, sir. We're not alone.
When it comes to opening your blockbuster, many filmmakers will hurry through the plot as quickly as possible, as an audience that is expecting action tend to have a shorter patience, and this causes many movies to have bad pacing in their opening scenes as they get chopped together to quickly get to the first set piece. However, Transformers: Dark of the Moon doesn't fall into this trap with its incredible opening. This opening 8-minute prologue delivers the mystery and intrigue of the plot, but also reintroduces the audience to the Transformers, as if it was the first time. Of course, for the characters in the movie, it is, and this allows the story to be conveyed in a natural manner, whilst interweaving real historical events with a sci-fi premise, and therefore grounding itself in a sense of believability. Let's look a bit deeper at how this opening works so well and is by far one of the best scenes in the franchise. The opening shot of space ties into the film's title, Dark of the Moon, which implies the movie will be more of a mystery, looking at a side of the Transformers we've never seen before and has been hidden, whilst all the Transformers movies have a sense of conspiracy and mystery as their central plots. This film is suggesting a slower burn, and the long sweeping shot of Cybertron implies this heavily. The hexagonal pattern contrasts well with the film's openings, the first movie showing what looked to be a planet's surface only to be revealed to be the cube the robots were fighting over, and Revenge of the Fallen opened with prehistoric Earth. Dark of the Moon delivers on showing Cybertron in full for the first time, coming out at a time when 3D was hugely popular. You can see how Bay has utilised the CG landscapes and the long sweeping shot, pulling back to really incorporate a sense of scale. Optimus's narration about being a peaceful race is contrasted with the reveal of explosions and gunfire seen on the surface of the planet, showing off the perfectly symmetrical pattern of the hexagonal surface being torn by gunfire. A robot civilization would naturally build surfaces that were symmetrical, since they have no human flaws in their early days, and so the architecture, in a way, tells the journey of how these creatures have transformed into sentient life. The bright orange engines of the Ark and its pursuers draw the eye immediately, being brighter and louder than the rest of the scene. Following the Ark on its escape from the surface shows some incredible sound design, but also Optimus saying how the Ark carried a secret cargo shows the importance and desperation of the characters, that they had to escape in time. There are shots in this chase that really remind me of the opening to Star Wars, that use the enormous scale of the Empire to show the stakes of the story, and a similar shot is achieved when we see the Ark escape the surface with rockets following, in a wide that shows how small and hopeless the Ark is in comparison to the Decepticons. Despite the importance of the mission, in other Transformers media, the Ark was portrayed as a huge ship, even in comparison to the Transformers, since it was intended to carry the entire Autobot faction. However, by making it smaller and have less presence, yet still carrying the same stakes, creates a bigger contrast between the mission and the ship carrying it out. When the ship gets destroyed, the camera pans up, only to pan down onto satellite dishes on Earth, which very effectively transitions from Cybertron to Earth in a fluid motion, but also shows the best hope the Autobots have being moved onto humanity, as the ones that will be their final hope. By transitioning to a satellite dish and not a person, it keeps the connection and dependence on technology intact, and works smoother than going from 100% CG into live action. The humans shown in New Mexico are all kept in shadow. However, these will be the first to discover the Transformers since Witwicky in the first film, and will give us a new perspective on how the government would react on a larger scale than Sector 7, which didn't inform of Megatron's discovery in the first film, and with that knowledge, there is some sense of fear as to what the government will do, having been tracking the Ark's descent, and therefore, by keeping these men in shadow, and keeps the viewer asking questions. The setup here, having multiple people aware of the ship before it's even landed, shows man's paranoia for what it doesn't understand, and Beer's direction complements this perfectly. Beer likes to keep an energy to every shot, and while the news of the ship's arrival gets passed from person to person, we see tight close-ups and cinematic sweeps, causing the viewer to be more on edge and anticipate where the flow of the camera will end. This is when a fantastic use of real footage from the 1960s is blended in with the footage in camera, to create a feeling of realism, but also unease, as the 60s footage appears to show footage the public would see, whereas the footage on the clean 2011 cameras show the real truth, and you feel like you're inside on the conspiracy. This could also be an effective contrast with the 3D from the opening, showing that Beer will always have a respect for classic camera work and the historical importance of the footage captured on them, reflecting Beer as a filmmaker that likes to combine practical with CG, unlike many old school directors still working today that go for an easier and cheaper option. After starting with the failure of the Autobots to save their world, the footage of the moon landing is a beautiful contrast, showing one of the greatest achievements humanity has made. Being very patriotic, you can see the effort that's gone into creating this sequence faithfully and authentically, with footage of the astronauts, speeches and crowds building up the achievement the men going to the moon are making. The incredible score from Jablonski is inspirational and mixes in some of Sentinel's theme to subtly imply the true nature of the mission. The patriotic score disappears as soon as the reveal of a top-secret document is shown. Neil Armstrong steps on the moon and the sense of wonder and achievement is lost in a fantastic shot of the arc reflected in the astronaut's helmet, as the camera turns to reveal how small their achievement truly was. However, humanity is taking their first step into the world of the Transformers, and it's here the film takes more of a horror vibe, with the astronauts exploring a ship full of dead Autobots, as the slow sweeping camera shots return, bringing you back to the feeling of the opening. The warm colours of the 1960s film cameras are lost in favour of cold blue ones, reminiscent of J.J. Abrams, with lens flares thrown in for good measure, along with the shocked reactions from the astronauts, giving across a hard sci-fi horror vibe as they lumber through the graveyard of a ship. Having a practical set for this scene helps a lot, and making it all feel real, with excellent lighting and obscured shots keeping the robots in shadow, similar to how the original Alien was, to keep the suspense and make the viewer more nervous to explore the shot. After getting close to discovering Sentinel, they turn to leave due to a lack of oxygen, and so the scene begins to reach its climax by combining Nixon's call to the astronauts, along with what was inside the ship that the astronauts got so close to seeing. But considering how small humans seem in their greatest achievement, being so small compared to the simple existence of Cybertronians creates a sense of dread for what could come next.
It inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth.
And they fucked it.